Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining me this morning. Oh, you gonna get up and move right when I get ready to. She sat there waiting and then started moving. Yeah. Good morning. Welcome to the program. 1-414-444.
Remember there are cameras in here, Michelle. We did see you assault him just then.
Did you? Yes.
Yeah, saw it on
camera.
Camera.
Man, we got all kind of footage in here. Her beat me up.
Really?
I'm battered.
And others too.
And others. I am battered.
That's what we doing. We got inside jokes.
Too soon. Too soon.
It's always too soon to tell a lie.
Welcome.
It's always too soon to tell a lie.
Your mic is hot, Michelle.
Yeah, let it be hot.
Welcome.
Too soon.
We missed you. We missed you.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
What's
welcome
up,
back.
Parris? How you doing today?
And we kicked it off with a little welcome back. Welcome back. Yeah, we did that this morning.
Think of Boom Boom Washington.
Freddie Boom Boom Washington.
Come on now. And that's what Debo was like. What's his first name?
And what was Horseshack? And then the Spanish guy.
That was with the big afro.
Right, but his mother would always write notes. He'd always talk about his mother. He was my.
That was Horseshack's mother always wrote the notes.
No, it was the Spanish guy.
Oh, okay.
Because he was my model in terms of writing notes and signing my mother's name. I got so good at signing my mother's signature when I was in high school. Man, forger. Yeah, I mean, I got real good at it, man. I mean, it just looked just like, couldn't sign my own name, but I could sign hers. Wow. Man.
And you don't think it remotely looked like your handwriting to
how
the individual?
How would they know my handwriting was so awful, man?
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. That's why I hate cursive. You don't need to bring it back. Let's stay with the block lettering. So
from what I understand, they've done away with cursive writing in schools.
In Wisconsin, we have. It's no longer required teaching in Wisconsin.
Now, I know there has been some legislators who have tried to offer legislation to bring it back. Right?
Yeah.
I think it was torturous. I'm going to be real honest with you, man.
But just think about all the things you cannot read because back in the day, things were written in cursive.
In cursive, yeah.
So all the documents you literally cannot read for yourself.
I'm sorry. What were you saying, Carpenter?
No, I was just agreeing. Like we can't even understand our history.
Yeah, because like you think about that. Yeah, if somebody hadn't already done that heavy lifting and interpreted for you.
I still do believe in punctuation.
To learn it but to learn it and then be able to even sign your signature.
Right.
Which technically, when you do a document, they want you to sign it. Then they want you to print it over here.
You know what? I had to do something for the company I work for. It's their affirmative action plan, so we had to sign off on it. And I could do an electronic signature. That was pretty cool.
Well, a lot of people can now.
You just type it in and it's your signature.
But it's really not. When you look at it, it's like, that's not how I write my name.
Well, I thought when we began to...
And just think about now when we ask for somebody's autograph, what you going to get?
Oh, I don't do autographs.
Yes. Well, that's because nobody has asked you for your autograph.
That's one of the reasons. But if someone ever did,
I do not like
one of my tens of listeners, if ever one of them come up, I'll never forget, we were doing one of our community events over at the old parking lot assembly of God
Church. I was going to say, somebody's asked for your autograph before. You mean
the church?
Yeah, we were doing the parking lot.
Remember we have the family day,
the resource fair.
Fair. Mm-hmm. And I got there and Miss Robinson said, "Hey Keith, your fan is here."
That one.
She's talking about JT. It was JT.
Yeah, but I'm just like, what do you sign? Yeah. Like when I came up here and got what's his name signature? Yeah, Lenny Williams. Like you just gonna write.
Oh, you got Lenny Williams' signature?
He signed 3 albums for Lakeisha.
Oh, did he?
Mm-hmm. And he was tripping because, like, they was, them straight up albums, the covers all worn and abused. So yeah, he was He was just looking like,
Hey, Douglas.
you got 3.
How are you, sir?
Mr. Kelly.
Not Douglas. I'm not trying to run out. I'm trying to hurry up and get off the camera.
So anyway, let me do this. Yesterday, had he lived, would have been Malcolm X's 99th birthday.
I'm so glad you said that. I forgot that.
Yeah, yesterday was Malcolm X's birthday. Let me shout out the
He would have been
Sean
how? 99?
99. He was born 5/19/1925.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. So let me think out, because usually it's the day we recognize. It came up my timeline in Facebook, and so Malcolm X and Chandra Staples yesterday when she did our church history. Yesterday was Zion Hill Missionary Baptist Church 65th year anniversary.
Well, that's cool. Congratulations to the church.
Yeah, she
Uncle
she
Russell.
mentioned that it was Malcolm X's birthday, and she said something that was just so profound but true. She said nobody appreciated him when he was alive. We have this whole appreciation of Malcolm
Just like
X
me.
now.
Just like me. Don't nobody appreciate me. And when I'm gone.
I'm not even gonna say why don't you die so we can find out. And he run out there and get hit by a car. I bet you if you, Lord, I didn't think she died. Oh Lord, I didn't think she died. So no, I'm not even. I ain't gonna put that evil on you. I'm gonna. So anyway, what was Athens? Did you get to?
I promise I thought about you so many times on the trip, because it's so much biblical history as you travel through the Mediterranean Sea area. And so they had the house, which was supposed to be like one of the last houses that Mary had stayed in. And
how did Mary get the Greece?
Was it Paul? Just the last steps he walked in.
Right.
So it was so much biblical history that was totally lost on me. I didn't know like a lot of the references, because even Esopus, whatever.
Yeah, the ruins.
Yes. And so people, like you could just tell, like there was one tour that my friend did. It was like a whole 8-hour day.
Yeah.
And they just took them through all these biblical sites.
Which is really fascinating, just beyond the Bible, just civilization. And I'm just, again, Western civilization. Where you have Mesopotamia, where the Babylonians and these folks were people who really did our record keeping and how people, and so you had that group, but then you also had the Greek. And during the time of Jesus, even though Rome dominated the world, the language used was Greek.
Yes.
And if you were educated, use Greek. Paul was educated. So a lot of the New Testament is written in Greek, not in Hebrew.
Right.
And then later translated to Latin and then
I did
English.
know that.
Right. So it does have significance in turn. And here's one of the things that's very interesting. Beyond just Jesus's threat to the Roman Empire, one of the reasons why he was crucified was that he was not a Roman citizen, and Roman citizens could not be crucified. And so if you're a Roman citizen, what they would do at the very worst would be to banish you.
No, they could kill you.
They didn't
crucify you though.
It was rare.
Like
right?
they could drown you.
Right.
Yeah, they had other ways. And I'm gonna tell you, while I was there, while I was sick on the ship, I took the time to watch the Book of Clarence.
What'd you think?
I personally loved it.
Really? All of it?
I loved all of it. But I also, the person that I was with, she is a pastor.
Okay.
She was irritated by most of it.
Right.
And and so, I'm like, if you could take your pastor's hat off for just a second and just watch it. And she was like, like she didn't get the humor in so many. And I'm like,
the guy who played Pontius.
God,
Pilate,
come on now.
He was good.
He was extremely
So when
good.
Clarence is telling him, look, man, I'm just doing this, man. I'm just out here gaming. He said, very calmly, I can let you go, but you could go out there and cause insurrection. So I'm going to crucify you, right? It was so on point in terms of Romans control. You do not push back against the Roman Empire.
Yeah, and just like, who are all these people that are out here to they the Messiah? But I loved what they did with that movie. I thought it was
and it was
really
pretty
well
accurate.
done.
I mean, I think that there were always these folks who would come as messiahs. And when I knew it was going to do it, I said we weren't going to do it. But somebody asked me at church yesterday, they said, do you have hostile phone callers? I said, I got one or two, and I got a couple of them that put me in hell. So,
all right, well, join the club, man. You have arrived. You have now.
Well, I don't know.
Or
I don't know if that's what I
when
really.
look, and this is one thing. So graffiti is all over Greece.
Right.
You know, and like they seem like they embrace it.
Okay.
There's no effort to take it down.
Okay.
It's everywhere.
Right.
As soon as I get off the plane, I see two things. I see IKEA, the big blue IKEA store. And then we drive a little further, getting towards the city, and up on this big building, in the biggest words I have ever seen, somebody had spray painted haters. And I was like, seriously, Keith has followed me to Greece.
My people, they're everywhere. my people are everywhere. Haters are everywhere.
Keith,
you cannot go
I'm
anywhere. You cannot go anywhere, and there's not a hater.
I mean, I couldn't even hardly get the tires in the city good. And it was in this big old black. They must have been like 10 feet tall letters
Haters.
spelled out haters on the side of the building. I'm telling you, it was crazy.
Haters.
And I said, he has followed me to Greece.
Yeah.
Hater Nation.
It would be
is in
great for me
Greece.
because I'd love
What would be great for you?
to go to Greece because I
okay.
love ancient philosophy. I love Aristotle and Plato, Socrates. I really fell in love with that. You know, that whole kind of Greek classic thinking. And so it would be just great to be able to go there and to soak all that up.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, walking the ruins and then visiting some of those places, I was blown away. Like to actually, because we went to where the Game of Thrones was taped. And so, you know, people were like, oh my God, this is the spot where, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, I don't know that intently, but what? And I was wondering if it looked like scenes from the Book of Clarence was taped in Greece too. I'm telling you, that's how much it looked like.
Oh, Unmasking Kevin Spacey. Oh my God.
Is this a new documentary?
Yes. Yes. HBO Max.
Well, he was acquitted. What is there to unmask?
Oh man. No, he was serial.
What, the freaks come out at night was playing in the background?
Yeah, I mean, they actually had his victims. So it's kind of like what did they with R.
But
Kelly?
wait, so now are these confirmed victims or people who have said they were victims?
Yeah, and there's some who won't because they don't want to hurt.
No. You said yeah.
Yeah.
Are these people that he has been found guilty?
No. Not
So
in the
these are
court of
people
law.
that have made allegations.
Yes.
So because we gotta be careful about how we say that. When people say these are his victims,
Wait a minute.
I mean, while I believe that, I'm just saying, as a journalist,
Okay.
as a public commentator, you do have to be a little careful
Okay.
because there have been no convictions.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson. We all know what we believe.
I am
O.J. Simpson.
O.J.
We all
Simpson.
know what we believe, but there have been no convictions.
You know, it's funny. You were talking a little bit about Diddy, and I believe this that the greatest sin is exposure, right?
Wait,
And what I mean by that, the greatest
yeah.
sin is
What do you mean?
exposure, is that for all those years he lied and denied. He lied and denied. But when the tape dropped, I was wondering, was he gonna still come out and lie and deny? It's like Ray Rice. And at first I thought about Ray Rice. That tape didn't drop until what, 4 months after the incident? I think Jake Tapper, was it Jack Tapper?
Jake
Tapper. Jake Tapper said, I'll never stay at that hotel. I mean, that you can be physically assaulted and they don't contact the authorities and they bury the tape. And how did he keep that towel on doing all that violence?
I mean, and stomping somebody with his socks on. Like, I'm just like, seriously, dude. She should have got up and beat the brakes off of
Looking
him.
like,
I said,
he was in a porn movie.
they always pick the right ones. They always pick the right women. Because somebody else, bro, it would have went down in that hallway. It would have been some Solange and Jay-Z action in that hallway. They always pick the right
back
one.
in there making a porn film. You run out here naked with just your socks on.
Socks in the towel. And then you try to stop. Who stopped somebody with socks on? I was like,
Those little feet. Those little feet. That little feet.
I just was like, Lord, it just don't never be me. It just don't never be me. Because that would have been a whole different video. It would have been his little stuff.
So I was waiting. So he comes out with his mea culpa. My fault. I did it. I'm really ashamed of
trying
myself.
to be a better man.
I'm
committed to being a better man.
I went to rehab.
I was
you
at a
hear
very
Debo's
low
song?
place.
Huh?
I was at a very low place. I had hit rock bottom.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And look, Debo's like, it was just a blanket apology
Yeah.
for
Right.
all sins.
Right.
Not just
I
the
think I'm
Cassie.
sorry that it was exposed. Remember, greatest sin, not so much that I did it. You know, I mean, and the only reason why he ended up settling with her was because New York state allowed people this extended grace period to file assault lawsuits. And
Well, it
hers
came
was
out that
gonna-
they said statute of limitations had run out on her case.
on her, on her
On
criminal
that
case,
video.
on the criminal case,
side, right.
but not on the civil side.
Right.
And so when he came out, because I mean, he got hit hard.
He squashed that like almost within like 24, 48 hours.
Right.
He paid her ASAP.
Right.
Like, you go.
And it says something about there's always been this allegation of the misogynism and violence in hip hop when it comes to women. And the behavior sometimes.
Can we just say music? I mean, because like I was looking at Aretha while I was on the boat too. You know, late at night I would watch all these movies I hadn't seen. So I was looking at Aretha, and you realize this girl is knocked up. What age did Aretha get sexually assaulted? 10, 12 years old. She having a baby, you know, and then they believe it might have been a daddy. It might have been somebody else. They won't, come out and fully say. I mean, like, hip hop does not have a market on misogyny and domestic violence and dumb stuff. Like the industry overall. Elvis Presley, I watched his movie, told from the perspective of the manager. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, with Tom Hanks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. First of all,
Elvis.
Tom Hanks looks so hideous in there.
Right.
They did such a great job on his makeup.
And that kid sounded like Elvis.
Oh my
like
God, he
Elvis.
did a great job.
Yeah.
But you mess with a 12-year-old child, man. Priscilla was like 12, 13.
Right.
When he starts sending for her. Like what's going on?
But I think you said in rock music, I think that in some ways, some of the demeaning. I was watching Freaknik. Have you seen Freaknik?
I haven't seen
the
it yet, 'cause
documentary.
I'm scared. I haven't watched it yet.
You could be, but really talked about what ended up
I was there, bro.
was really
Every
killed
year.
Freaknik was the behavior
Yeah.
of black men towards black women. And this thin line.
So what behavior? What was that?
They were
'Cause I was there.
groping. When were you there? Not 80s or 90s?
This would have been the
Early 90s.
late 80s,
Right.
early 90s.
Different time.
Yeah.
Because by the time they end up shutting it down,
Yeah.
it had turned.
Yeah, I hadn't gone the
into-
last probably 2 or 3 years.
And the funny thing was, my sister, who was, I think she could have been at Howard then.
Okay.
This could have been like 83, 84. She said, "Let's drive to Freaknik."
Yeah, we used to always go.
I said, "Dude, I'm not driving 36 hours, be someplace 16 hours. That doesn't make any sense."
Dude, bros used to fly their cars
That's
in.
what they were saying.
I remember coming out of the hotel and all of these cars had Alaska plates on them. They was all like Benzes. And I was like, who got the Benzes from Alaska? It was all black men coming over to the valet. They were all educators. And I think they was all bros. They was all Qs. And I was talking to them. They said, yeah, we had our cars flown in. What?
The amazing thing that they had an NBA All-Star game there, I think in the 2000s. And that's what people were doing, shipping their cars.
Yeah.
And then there's so many cars, you can't move. You can't move.
But I'm just like, your whip is not that cold that you needed to ship it in. Very few of them was so unique and distinctive that I needed you to fly your car in. But yeah, they was flying their cars in.
So you did go to Freaknik?
Many times. Me and my Saraj from here went. Yeah, many times.
Well, I was fascinated with its origin.
I don't even.
The origin was that at the 5 black colleges there, there are people who either couldn't go home or didn't want to go home for spring break.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 or 5 people got together and said, let's just throw a picnic out at Piedmont Park.
Really?
And so that's how it started. And they would go. So every year, spring break, instead of
Got
going to
bigger and
Daytona,
bigger.
instead of going to Galveston.
Because that stuff wasn't for you anyway.
right.
You know,
But
you
they
would go
would-
to
they
Fort
would hang
Lauderdale,
out.
like, really? All this beer guzzling
And I had
ignorance?
not, because there's something that they have at HBCUs called state clubs.
Yeah.
So where you from, you
Right.
form and it was the people from the DC, Maryland state club that really were the people behind the party and how it grew. But then, like it is, and then you get into this whole thing, man, where people come now, and what was
Just like they've messed up Myrtle Beach. Because Black Bikers Week in Myrtle Beach, a must attend. Now they changing the hours, they restricting like alcohol sales because people just come out there and just act a whole fool. I mean,
and I was trying to avoid the whole class piece of this thing where and again I don't want to look at it necessarily from that lens, but primarily the people who had started Freaknik,
So students, academics,
and
then people that were not in school started to come,
and then somebody said, so you got a piece for college students. Why you got 40-year-old men coming down to Freaknik? What are they coming down there for? And
but a lot of alumni ended up coming back because it
Right.
ended up being like a
big party.
So you had like alumni of those schools that were coming back. So you could see 40-year-old bros, but they was from Clark. They was from Morris Brown.
And here's what's interesting. They got the name from Sheik's La Freak.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then it was a cookout. So it was going to be a picnic. And they said, well, you know the history of the word picnic.
Right.
So they took Nick. So when you look at the original Freaknik, it is NIC. There's a guy who just bought it, just bought the copyright. He's trying to redo it. And you hearing all the people going like, dude, you'll never be able to do what it was. It turned into something which, and I think the word they use was organic, right? That's how it just started. We just kind of came together, boom, 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 boom. And I don't want to be pejorative. I don't want to be negative. But there's some folks out there, man, who they'll mess it up. And then these will be the same Negroes who will turn around, we ain't got nothing to do. You know, and especially when it's for free. Miami Beach. Now Memorial Day is supposed to be Urban Beach Day. Miami Beach don't even want the headache, right? Because it's one, people ain't spending money. Two, you just got folks just down there, and then it turns into what it turns into.
And it's always just a few people that can mess it up for every. Like I think about when we did African World Festival. So that overhead ride, that whatever it is called,
the glide.
Yeah, the glide. The owner of the glide used to pay African World Festival not to open that ride. And we had people that would come down there and be like, they ain't even got the glide open. Why y'all can't even afford the glide? No, we could. We were being paid to keep it closed because the owner said that people would get up there and spit down on people, throw bottles down on people, and the liability cost was so great. He paid us to keep it closed.
Yeah. Well, people can remember Summerfest had a midway, and the midway was free.
Yeah.
But that was the problem. And you know, people the evidence is just too strong. We were talking about the victory parade in Kansas City for the Chiefs. People on the outskirts of that, they got a shooting. We have the Deer District down here. Folks who weren't even part of all of that, but saw an opportunity because a lot of people like the attention that they get. You know, negative attention is attention. So it's.
But some folks just don't know how to show up. Yeah. You just don't know how to party.
Right.
Like I feel sorry because there are people who legitimately don't know how to go nowhere and have a good time. Or what they think is a good time is just ratchet and ignorant. Like you just don't know how to show up and have a good time.
What was Chris Rock's joke? Clubs open, grand opening. Next week, grand closing. Well, welcome back.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Oh man,
I appreciate what y'all did.
It was my pleasure.
I'm gonna get your gift to you.
I'm gonna wait on that like the rides I'll be waiting on when I call you. You listen to Community Voice. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Yeah, why you
444-525-0250. As you all know, this is the graduation commencement season. I was at a commencement ceremony last Wednesday. And so yesterday, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. President Biden, either yesterday or Saturday, spoke at Morehouse College for their commencement. There were protests. Several students turned their back when he got up. There was some controversy about inviting him to speak at the commencement. There are some issues that the students have as it relates to foreign policy. One, what's happening in Gaza, and then a situation I was not really kind of mindful of, what's going on in the Congo. And there is, they call it the coup belt, because you have all these coups in terms of government takeovers. I think it's Chad, Mali, the Republic of Congo, and I can never get the other one. I think it's Bosnia and Fasa. But these four countries all in this little line. It was something that the professor who they were interviewing on MSNBC yesterday had pointed out, and the argument that I've been making along. He said that about 40% of us are descendants of people who from that belt, from Congo, Mali, that West Central Africa area, and then work your way back to what they then called the Gold Coast, where you have Nigeria, Ghana, and then of course he talked about Angola, which was to the south, and primarily certainly many of the enslaved Africans who found themselves in Brazil came from Angola, but many of us came from that area. And what it is that in terms of the minerals that we need in order to fuel computers, lithium, platinum, well, these countries, Chad, Mali, the Congo, they're just rich in these minerals. And it was saying that in Chad, where we had U.S. troops, Niger, yeah, that was the other, where we had U.S. troops, that the U.S. troops are transitioning out. And I think it's the Chinese, because the Chinese the Russians are coming in, but the Chinese own a lot of those mineral companies that will be used, the minerals that we use to support our computers. And so we're kind of asleep here in America. We when it comes to foreign policy, I mean, unless it just jumps out, we're talking about the president, the late president, and the late foreign minister for Iran dying in a helicopter accident. That makes news, but what's going on there in terms of all the instability that you have in that area, again, that's the Republic Congo, Mali, Chad, Bassa-Fasina, there it is, Bassa-Fasina, and then Niger, all this instability. But what's the instability being caused by? It's being caused by the minerals that are there and how important it is. Like I said, folks, it's always about the money. Cash rules everything around me, and American interest. And it was when we saw this when we went to Panama, where the U.S. government had pulled out of Panama after it transferred the Panama Canal back to the nation of Panama. And so there was a kind of a void there, because when we had all our military installations there, that's one of the reasons why some people, they might have a problem with American influence, but a lot of them like having American bases there, because what happens is, like in Afghanistan, the people live so much better when the Americans were there, because Americans are spending money. You're supporting all these little local ancillary businesses. So they might not like the imperialism, but they certainly like the economics. And so this brother, they held up a Congolese flag right in back of the president. I don't know if you notice it when the president is up giving his commencement speech. And a lot of that was to bring attention to what's going on there. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Chief.
Yes, sir.
Chief. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey.
I can't stand Boston Celtics, right?
Yeah.
But I hope they stomp Indiana in the ground.
You don't like the Pacers?
Man, did you see the sweat the hoodie that Halliburton had on after the game? Now,
Oh, was it the
was
Reggie Miller choke?
right.
Okay.
So Indiana was supposed to beat the Knicks, right? They was an undermanned squad, and look how far they took them with an undermanned squad. Now, don't you think if the Knicks would have had their full squad, Indiana wouldn't even be where they was at right now? It probably wouldn't even be if Giannis would have been playing.
That's what I'm saying with the Bucks. They shouldn't have beat the Bucks in the first round. And on paper, they wouldn't have if everybody's healthy. So let me ask you this. Do you think the NBA is looking forward to a Minnesota-Indiana final?
No, I don't want to see Indiana in it.
Yeah. But I'm just saying in terms of they need Boston at this point because Boston is really the big market team. Because if you get like Indiana and Minnesota, two of the smallest markets in the NBA.
Well, we need that kind of stuff sometimes, Keith. So I'm kind of hoping that's the way it is. I'm hoping it's going to be Boston and Minnesota, and I hope Minnesota then stomp Boston.
So you think Boston can beat Indiana?
Oh yeah, man, they're gonna kill them. Yep, they're gonna kill them.
And I think Porzingis might get back, right?
If Porzingis get back, yeah, dang. If the Knicks took them to that point,
right, with
7 players, they was missing what 3 or 4 starters or something like that, and they did them like that. Yeah, Boston gonna stomp them.
And I don't know. I guess I don't know if they're trying to create a Willis Reed moment when they let what's his name, Abadabi, when he started. But it was, man, you don't pull a hamstring and come back in 3 weeks.
They shouldn't have did that.
Oh man, that a hamstring
is the Olympics this year.
Yep, in Paris.
So do you think they should? I don't know if the NBA or the Bucks got anything to do, but I wouldn't let Giannis play.
But he would play for Greece, wouldn't he?
I know, but can't they do something about that?
Well, I don't know if did they qualify? I don't know if Greece qualified. But no, they're indemnified, right? I mean, the NBA is a big supporter of FIFA basketball, so they have. If you get hurt, shout out to brother Nate Luckett, good folks there at New Pitts Mortuary. Good morning, folks. Good morning. Because remember, Paul George got hurt in the tryouts in Vegas. Remember? Right. So
I'm hoping that let me ask you a question because I meant to ask. That's why I kind of hung up because Michelle left.
Okay.
How you gonna sit on the tape since 2016? Somebody got paid.
Say that again.
How are you going to sit on the tape? What was that tape back 2016?
Yeah.
Somebody got paid.
Yeah, and that's the whole question that
now coming out.
You see a crime and those are security tapes, right? That's what they're there for, security. If you see a crime, shouldn't that crime be reported?
I mean, the way he did that young lady, come on, man.
But wait a minute. Remember, Ray Rice's tape didn't drop until 4 months after the incident. Right? So we didn't even know that went in and said, oh, there was something that happened. And we didn't realize the severity of the incident until we see the tape inside of the elevator. And then you go like, wow, this dude. Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff that you've been hearing, all these innuendos and
right.
stuff about him, that stuff may be true.
Well, and that's the whole point, that a lot of times when we hear it now, it was something Michelle asked me. She said, well, has it been proven in court? No. So if we're looking at it from a legal perspective, but I was wondering how he's going to deny this tape because it's obvious who he is in the tape.
With Debo, what you say, Debo? Were you going to believe me or your lying
eyes? Or your lying eyes. I know what you're saying. It was the joke about R. Kelly where, he was sitting up here when he was doing the tapes with the young lady and said, that ain't me. And they got all his American Music Awards with his name on it right there. And well, somebody was in your room that looked like you. I mean, it's tough. And that's what I said to Michelle. That's the greatest sin a lot of times because we get away with it until it's uncovered. Right. And then once it's uncovered, now we deal with all the consequences of that. But, this behavior, man, violence towards women, I mean, it's a serious.
My daughter got murdered.
Right. Right. I mean, we got to, and I know, and then we can kind of go in and differentiate. Well, You know, some people arguing, well, Rihanna and Chris Brown was a fight. Okay, it depends on where you are on that was a fight or what that was. But yeah, that was really disturbing, man. I mean, it was. But
Can
I
I say
think,
one more thing because
yes, sir.
I don't want to hog up the line to all these Trumps, all these 45 supporters that think stuff is funny. I don't know if you saw that tape when that dude hit Nancy Pelosi, because that was my first time seeing it. I know we had heard about it.
Her husband. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it. They the other day when he attacked dude with that hammer, and then 45 was making a joke out of, and that's what people want as a president, man. They thought that was funny, man.
But you know what, George? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'm a little worried about this election.
I'm a little concerned too.
I think
I'm a little concerned too.
Yeah,
I don't know what people are thinking about, and that's why I was saying I don't know what's going on in this world. The Bible tells about this kind of stuff. I don't want to get into that, but Keith, we living in some strange times, man.
We are, and I think
strange times, man, and I just don't know what people are thinking, what they're saying, all this kind of stuff with all this stuff that's going on, Keith. I don't get it right now, and I'm just hoping. I'm hoping, and I'm gonna tell you something. I'm praying, but I'm like you, Keith. I am very concerned about this election because if this cat and his people get in, people gonna wish they would have. But you know what they say, Keith? Sometimes it might be too late, so we're gonna find out. All right, man. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that because I was talking to someone this morning on the way in to the station, and I was expressing my real concern about this election and what potentially could happen is because the Dems could lose the Senate. The House.
Look what that one judge is doing, Keith. That with the document case. So
Judge Cannon.
Man, it's we're going to. Hey, man, God bless you, man.
All right, appreciate you, man. So I'm worried about if there is where you have the Senate and you have the House that's controlled by Republicans. Trump is in the White House. And then you have this Supreme Court. This is frightening, and a lot of people go, "Well, it ain't raining yet." Okay, but it's getting cloudy, and the barometric pressure is dropping. So I don't know. I think we need to be mindful of this, because it seems to me that a person is facing 88 different charges, indicted in one state, 2 states, 3 states, Florida, Georgia, New York, and people going that there's absolutely nothing wrong with his behavior. The fact that you have evangelicals and others who are lining up and supporting him, it says a whole lot about where we are, and that people are going after DEI, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. We saw what happened in Shenandoah, Virginia, where they had, after George Floyd had renamed 2 schools, had taken Stonewall Jackson and Robert E. Lee off the names of the schools, and less than 4 years later, they're going back wanting to rename the schools. It is. I'm concerned, and if people are here saying that it don't make a difference, it really does make a difference, because this is just what you mean. And when people, as George is saying, they've suspended all good judgment in order to support someone, he must represent truly who they are and what they are. Caller, welcome to the program. Caller, welcome to the program. You there? Okay. 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. I did get to interview the vice president last week. Wow. I kind of like my little job. Caller, welcome to the program.
Yeah, Keith, you were talking about the election and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tell you something. Some of the black guys I spoke to and listened to radio stations across the country, black radio stations, they are not too happy with the black men are not happy with Joe Biden. Now, the black women are probably going to vote, for Joe Biden, but I think it's going to be a 50-50 toss with the black man. And I tell you, this is my state, that when they have these immigrants coming across, and then they're cutting back city services. I mean, my understanding too is that they're giving 6 months worth of free rent. They're doing the same thing in Maine. They're giving them 2 years of free rent. But they're not doing that for American citizens. And I'm just saying that's what people are seeing, at least the black guys. Now, the black women are a little bit different. And I think it's going to come down to, they tend to vote more than the black guys on issues.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're the ones who put, what's his name? Remember that guy Doug or whatever? He ran for senator in Alabama.
Doug Jones.
Yeah, Doug Jones.
Yeah.
But they tend to be more. They tend to go out there and vote.
Yeah. Well,
but I'm just saying
he lost the second time around.
Yeah. But but I'm saying is that I'm just saying that Biden is. The biggest thing I see is the immigration thing for a lot of black guys. And I know some people said, well, these people got to go someplace. But when they're cutting back city services, they're doing so many things for them. And at least in our state, in our city, I mean, that's worrisome to a lot of people because they're not doing that for black Americans that are citizens. And I think that's what and Joseph is in his first term. Both of them are bad, Trump and Biden.
Really? You don't see a difference between the two?
Well, the Joe was starting okay, but I think this immigration thing is really, this is really getting a lot of people upset. I don't know about where you live, but I can tell you where I live, you see the immigrants, they're supposed to have some kind of parole. People are supposed to take care of them, but you see them on the streets. They're at the Home Depot begging for jobs, begging for money. And these people are supposed to be, this is not turned well. This is what people are saying. I know they're going to try to use the abortion thing, but I can just tell you the abortion thing, it may work for some people, but when people are saying, when they're cutting back city services, cutting back state services, giving people 6 months of free rent, or they're getting in Maine, they're giving 2 years worth of free rent for the asylum seekers.
Right.
And I think that people are going to be looking at those kind of things when they're looking at things, and they say, hey, they're not doing anything for me at all.
But we're still going to bear the cost of that if we had them in detention centers. You know, basically they have to have some place to stay because
I understand.
You know, so for the asylum piece, unfortunately, Greg Abbott and other governors, Ron DeSantis, then used them as political props and sent them to so-called sanctuary cities and said, now you deal with the issue. The vast majority of those people who are coming here, they're coming here to work. And as quiet as it's kept, a lot of our economy is dependent on, certain sectors of our economy is dependent upon this type of labor. So in some ways where you hear very different argument, with the exception of Texas, a very different argument about allowing people to come in the country, for example, to work, temporary work status, those things, because for those agricultural states, these are the people who are picking the fruit. Americans are not all these brothers sitting up here talking about you gonna do da 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 da. Never one of those Negroes gonna go and pick fruit. They ain't gonna do it because they had the opportunity. They ain't gonna do it. So at some point, though, we need to pick the fruit picked. So what do you do? And then when you look at the folks, and it's not just folks from Central America, not folks just from Mexico, it's folks from Haiti, right? And they have to deal with that issue over there in terms of Haiti and the unbearable living conditions. I think it's real interesting to hear some kind descendants of African enslaved Africans talk about the immigration policy. It's just fascinating to me because we were forced immigrated. Yeah. Okay. And so with the exception of the indigenous people here, everybody here is either immigrant, forced, or voluntary. Right. So
I understand that, but I'm just saying, you asked about some of I'm just saying what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing. And I'm just saying, when people see people standing in corners, and most of them are just tend to be Hispanics, but now you're seeing a few Africans. I think they had a guy from Haiti. You're seeing, but I think that what's upsetting people is that they're coming across the border, and you're not even sure that person's real name or anything else like that. They have these parole things where they're supposed to be taken care of by somebody. And somebody was telling me there was a guy, and I thought he was a Black American, and I saw him doing some yard work, and I wanted some done on mine. And when I went to speak to the guy was speaking in Spanish, and then I don't understand Spanish. Okay. So he said he had a cousin who sponsored him to come to this country. He's from, she says, I think I understand. I say, ¿de dónde es usted? He said, Colombia, okay. I said, okay. And I was surprised. And, but anyway, that the guy was doing some kind of work, and Wanda, his cousin, he speaks English. And she was just saying, well, I'm taking care of my 3 cousins. And it's like you being able to take care of your 3 cousins, basically going to be basically impossible. And because you got to make sure they have the money, the food, and everything else like that. But she says these people have no money when they come across. I think it's just the disorder when they see the people coming across. And I understand these people will need a job, but I think it needs to be more orderly when they're coming across, because you have so many people. Then they have the Chinese coming across, and that is really worrisome to a lot of people too.
Well, I think the other piece of it is that many people in this country here illegally are not people who came across the border illegally. These are people who overstayed their visas. You got a whole lot of folks who came in here on the visas and they're still here. I think that there is a certain, use this word, xenophobia and racism that's being attached to people coming because the people that they show are brown and Black people. They're not showing the white people who come here, again, who overstay their visas. We're not seeing those folks. Yeah. So the whole immigration issue, and then they put together an immigration bill, and Donald Trump said, no, don't pass the bill because I don't want to help the Democrats. So Republicans are not even really serious where they think it really is a problem. It is a political issue. It's a wedge issue for them. But it was like the same thing about when we hear about government spending, right? And how they're fiscal hawks. Not one elected Republican official sent any money back to Washington when they did the infrastructure bill, when they did the stimulus money. Not one of them. The hypocrisy sometimes is just glaring. So when they're saying that they're concerned about people coming in and they're bringing fentanyl in the country, they're not bringing fentanyl in the country. That's a whole totally different operation. And we wouldn't have fentanyl in the country if there wasn't a demand for fentanyl in the country, right? We wouldn't have cocaine in the country if there wasn't a demand for cocaine in the country. So what you do is we can put all these things together, and then people going like, yeah, look at how they taking care of them. They would have taken care of them if they would have been in detention centers. That's all they're doing until they have their asylum here. And here's the other piece of it. Most of these people show up for their asylum. This like 90% of them show up for asylum hearings. So this abuse.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
I was told that hardly none of them show up.
That's not true. That is not true. The majority of them, because they want to stay in the country. And they understand if they get kicked out the country, they can't come back. If they're denied asylum, they can always go back and then try again. If they're kicked out for illegal entry, they cannot come back. They're not going to get an asylum hearing. So it's the legality there. And then all of a sudden, it's an issue. It's an issue. We don't need people here to work, and they're coming here to work. That's what's crazy. And they're not taking American jobs.
One thing I can say is that, as far as I guess it depends. You're right. It depends on what part of the country that you're coming from. But I can just say that I think it has not been orderly. And as far as I'm coming across the border, because all you see on TV is you see long lines of people rushing across the border, and you don't even know. I mean, they can't process them enough.
Right.
I mean, they said $5,000 a day, $10,000 a day, and then they're coming across, and then the coyotes These guys, I mean, they said that coyotes are charging these people $9,000. And I'm saying to myself, $9,000, it's like you leaving Wisconsin and moving and having to go down to Central America or South America, and somebody charges you $9,000. You don't have any money. You on the Rhonda, that would be $18,000. But you guys got to go to the same issues they're going through.
I don't know if she get to go. I was sent back for her. We only got 9. I know we're gonna get the other 9 from, so she's gonna have to stay behind. But that's what people are doing. And I got another caller. Let me say this real quickly. Right. A lot of reasons why these people are here is because how American foreign policy has destabilized their governments. That little piece of it.
You're correct about that.
But
so also one other thing, I'll make one last point, is that they voted for that guy, Hector, what was his name, in Venezuela. And they wanted that kind of government. They voted for him, and America does not. They are not cool with communism or socialism from Cuba. I mean, Cuba is basically being creamed.
Yep.
I mean, it's basically. I'm surprised any of those people, or even more of them, haven't even left.
Well, and I think the other piece of it is it shows you a whole lot about the resilience of the Cuban people. All right, man. Let me get this next call.
You take care.
Appreciate you. Caller, welcome to the program.
More than him.
Good morning.
Oh, my bad, Keith. Turn the radio down. Ain't no echo, right? How you doing, Keith?
I'm good, man. What's happening?
Keith, you been in New York before?
Oh, yeah.
You been to the
Statue of Liberty?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you saw that? You looked at that? You looked at the statue?
I was actually went in and up the statue.
Went in and everything.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Did you she got this crown on she got a chain on her foot?
Yeah, that was I'm trying to remember.
It was it had a chain on the foot. Huh?
Right.
Yeah, but where did it come from?
France.
Came from France, right? Okay. They got the highway closed off on 94 Miller Parkway.
What's happening?
Going west. Got it closed. Okay, listen. Now, you saw the statue of the devil sitting down there with that same chain on her ankle.
Okay.
That the crown on her leg, and that crown that she got 7 points.
Okay.
And the Statue of Liberty got 7 points.
Okay.
The thing that she's holding in her hand, the flame, is on the ground next to an apple.
Okay.
Now, how do that makes it's kind of weird to me, yo. Everything that statue in New York has, this statue of Satan has the same thing.
Where did you see the statue of Trump?
A Trump? You said Trump.
You said it was a statue of Satan. So where did you see?
Yeah, that's him. That's that dude. That's him.
Oh, I guess somebody got mad at me one time because I said people cut a deal with the devil, and I'm going like, this dude. I know he probably ate the devil, but you can smell the sulfur. He got a pretty good relationship with Satan. It's just like, boy,
real, boy.
Man, it is just like, wow. But yeah, I finally did, as an adult, go and see the Statue of Liberty, which was really amazing to see that little piece. I was telling somebody that I used to travel on somebody else's dime, and we would go to all these different cities, and I never did the geek part of the city. But even now, I went to school 6 miles from the historic Gettysburg battlefield. I'm talking 6 miles. I could literally walk. I never went to those battlefields as a student. I didn't go to those battlefields until I was, as Homer said, grown. Right.
Did you walk through it?
Well, man, do you know how huge that battlefield is? It is huge. You drive through it.
Huge.
It's huge. And then they used to have the helicopter tours but I think they had a couple of crashes, so they stopped doing the helicopter tours. But all I'm saying is, and it's like something that Michelle says: be a tourist in your own city, find out all these different things and facts, and but yeah, seeing the Statue of Liberty, that was cool. And Ellis Island, being able to go past Ellis Island. So
yeah, see that book.
Yep.
Look at that book.
I got to see what she had. Is that the Law, 10 Commandments? Got to see what she had. All right, you're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a quick break and be right back. Welcome back to Community Voice. And again, we're joined again. I got to do better.
Because I'm always here.
You're always here. Wow, you know what? In the last, the before I had seen you, we were all masked up.
True.
We were all masked up when I saw you.
Since then, I got braces and braces on all.
Yeah. Miss Ebony Solly.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good today.
Community Outreach Health Centers.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you, good sir. Good sir.
Good sir.
Yes,
Good
yes.
sir. You all are now. Is that's your building here on Capitol, right?
Right here in the heart of the city, Second and Capitol.
So will that be like a clinic? What's that gonna?
So we have 5 components. We've got the clinic.
Okay.
Right. So your regular primary care. We've got the behavioral health side.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a pharmacy, fully functioning pharmacy, undergoing renovations right now. We have community services. So those things like benefits that people are looking to do, assistance with that. Let me see. I got my 4. What am I missing? A dental clinic. Right. So services to those who are without healthcare, healthcare to the homeless, mobile health unit. We've got dental. We got you covered.
And this started off, as I remember, healthcare for the homeless, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the roots. I had a couple of friends who worked there back in the day.
Yeah.
And now it's expand. What is that designation of this type of medical facility?
It is a federally qualified health center, which means we get funding from the federal government to take care of Milwaukeeans. So the services that some of the other health centers will charge an arm and a leg, we can provide at substantially reduced cost or for free.
This is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes. So many things
touch our
mental
mind right, man. You know,
It's so important, though. It's so
man,
important.
when old black people said, and he woke me up this morning
Mhm.
closed
In
in my right
mind.
mind, not clothed, closed. That mind.
Listen, don't make fun of Big Mama.
No,
You
because I
do
know
it.
what Big Mama was talking about. She woke up this morning and she was saying, right, because the craziness in this world
They will
can make
try it.
you
They will try it
make
each and
you
every
go
time.
crazy,
Mm,
man.
mm,
You know, I
mm,
mean,
mm.
I don't know if it was a clinical diagnosis, but y'all about to make me lose my mind
Up in here.
up in
Up
here.
in here.
You know,
Listen,
so
listen.
you know, black mental health. There was a guy, I can't think of what, Mr. Wiley, and he wrote a book back in the day. Some days it just makes you want to holler.
I mean, listen, Ebony will do two things in life. She will personally and professionally get her sleep. She will not be stressed out. And she will take a deep breath. And so Mental Health Awareness Month for me is just about that. It's about understanding what your triggers are, understanding what's going to make you lose your mind up in here, and then figuring out healthy. I'm going to say healthy because listen, we got some coping techniques in our community
Man.
that are not healthy.
And I was talking about this during COVID, and I was talking about how that organism adapts and based on what you're throwing at it, right? We do the same thing.
We're resilient,
We're
but
resilient.
at what cost?
At what cost?
At what cost?
But that, you know, is part of that evolutionary process that we're going to experience until we're fine at. So this was an interesting fact that 1 in 5 adults live with some form of mental illness.
1 in 5. That means a whole
1,
bunch,
2,
right?
3,
Right?
4.
Right?
Which one? There's 5 of us.
Right?
Which
I mean, seriously. I mean, everything from depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. It's everything out here. And so I think number one, we have to tread lightly. But number two, we have to figure out how to wrap our arms around people because you never really know, right? What's going on with people.
And I think that as much as we can get the information,
Yes.
a lot of people push back. Well, you need to understand the science because if you understand the science, then you can treat it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this is, prayer works.
Yes.
But so does medication.
Also,
so does therapy, right? I mean, they work too.
Also,
in terms of, so there are factors like the biological factors.
And so you can't pray away what somebody is born with, right? The chemistry of
Real
a person, you can't, and I love the faith-based community. We'll talk about how they can get involved, but sometimes it's just chemistry. People's brains don't work as most people's do. But then you've got the life experiences. I think we assume everybody kind of lives like we do and has the coping that we do, but some folks got it rough. Yeah. And then the family history. So, we test for heart disease and cancer factors and diabetes, but we forget about some of the health challenges, right? And we all got a few in our family. That's what makes
And
us.
I think things like life trauma, a lot of trauma. And maybe for some of us back in the day, again, as you say, human beings have a way you can cope. You can bury things in your subconscious. You find other ways just to kind of get away from it. We, kind of our little running thing about, how poor we were. Poverty is traumatic.
Listen, I talked about that last month. It costs a lot of money to be poor.
Oh, man. There's a poll tax. No, there's a poll
It is.
tax.
You get the fees and the this and the that and
higher interest rates.
Everything.
I mean, the cost in your community of items are higher.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. So you have to fight to get the things in the community, then they charge you more to put them there. It's wild times.
And then a family history. There's a one day I went by my sister's house. And my baby niece walked by and she go, "Hey, crazy," and kept walking. So I looked at her sister. I said, "Y'all call me crazy?" Now, her sister ain't seen nothing since 2001. So when I said it, she was like, I don't know. So I called my sister. I said, my niece walked by And she called me crazy. I said, y'all called me crazy. My sister's first reaction was deny. She said, oh, no. See, what happened was one day, either Maris or Parris had come in and said, Uncle Keith has said such and such. And then I said, well, you know, your Uncle Keith is crazy.
And
so
they hold on to it.
She's like 7. So after that, so now I'm Uncle Crazy. But you know, that history, you know, we knew people had some issues. And one of the things I discovered about my uncle, who was as long as I mean, he was alcoholic since he was probably a teenager. Coping. He had a learning disability. But he was really, really smart. But they didn't know how to teach him. You know, and so those things, how we learn and all these different things, people dealing with depression and I'm not a trained psychologist, so sometimes I don't know if you faking or if you for real.
And that's the tough part. Listen, that's why we leave it to the professionals to kind of figure out what's what people need, what falls in that normal, right? So some things do fall into the normal. You know, when you have a scar, you get cut, it will scab, it will heal over. There are some things with the mind that are the same. So you have certain traumas, the mind is going to do certain things. And that's where the professionals can say, do we need a Band-Aid on it? Do we need to triage it? Do we need to amputate it? We need to medicate it. So we leave that to the professional.
Or even sometimes physical trauma.
Yes.
In terms of people who are, you know, we're finding this out with sports now. And what's really amazing, we've talked about this, where now you see kids out with helmets when they ride bikes.
Did you see the bubble helmet? Have you seen that? I like the bubble helmet.
Yeah, so they wearing helmets, right? We go, they soft. No, a lot of us run around here with brain injuries, which can explain some of that crazy behavior the 5 times you fell off the bike.
Look, I think it's Jay-Z has a part in his song that says something like, you know, fall off the jet ski and forget I'm me. Oh my God, that would be terrible. So yeah, I'm wearing the helmet.
Right. My mother never hit us in the head. She thought that would cause brain damage.
She give you
the rest of the body was fair game, but not the head, man. She never took it to the head. But all those things, you know, and that was the great debate a lot of us have about should our kids play football. You know, because of CTE. But then what we discovered, but I read this, soccer players.
I was just going to say, I tend to fall on the soccer side because you got to keep your hands off me.
Right. But soccer, because they're, and your brain is floating around, you know, it's in this fluid and it's floating around. So
golf seems like the sport that we should all be pushing to. Just a little golf, a little tennis, a little swimming.
Well, we should swim anyway.
See,
Black people, teach your kids how to swim.
That part.
I'm assuming on the name that I heard down in Racine when a kid jumped in the quarry and drowned. Teach your kids how to swim. When they have swimming class, I don't care about their hair.
I know.
Teach them how to swim.
Or put the braids in and teach, or at least I will say, I get it. Teach them how to float. My dad said, if you learn nothing else, which I can't swim, but learn how to tread water and how to float. Because if anything could happen, your plane falls from the sky to this to that, find yourself in a flash flood. You at least got to float to help.
And then when we start having pool parties, you can get in the water.
Because I'm a swim now.
Why do Black people have pool parties and nobody in the pool? What is the point of a pool party?
Fashion.
Right, and then the ones who get in the pool, they can't swim, right? So they end up drowning at the pool party. It's like, come on,
I gotta
man.
save your life. I done had a couple cocktails.
Right. You gonna get up here on the little potato salad.
I gotta get in the pool to help you
out. This was very interesting to me. It says only 20% of adults receive any mental health treatment in the past year. So I'm looking at
right around that pandemic time. So if you got 1 in 5, and then those people aren't getting the treatment, we got a problem.
Yeah, because then when you break the numbers out, and they said that which included 10% who received counseling or therapy from a professional. Listen.
I love my hairdresser. I love my sister circle. They are not professionals. So we can chat and we can talk about things that are happening in life. Find a professional that can walk you through life's challenges, right?
Do you think it's difficult to, for many of us, and I'm looking at myself now, to one, acknowledge that we might be struggling?
It's a stigma. I mean, like you said, crazy uncle, right? There's
Cray.
a stigma around I'm not okay, or especially with Black women. Oh, I got to be the strong Black woman. I'm in my soft life now. If it's stressing me out too much, remove that thing from your life. What are we showing strength for? Who can take the most pain? We've got to move out of that. So the stigma around professional help, the stigma around reaching out to talk to someone, to be on medication, to do those things, we need to let that go.
And that's fascinating, but then there's a certain level of guilt, which will certainly exacerbate any mental thing that you're going through when you're feeling things like, because our emotions.
Yes. And that's where you get those coping techniques of the drug use. So if you look at who's getting help in drug use, they have a relationship. Drug use goes up when people feel like they can't talk about these issues.
How important is it for us to use our words?
Oh man, listen, that's one of those quotes I used to use with my daughter. All this stomping your feet, use your words. Figure out what you're feeling and be honest. I think that authenticity of, I would love to, I use this a lot. I would love to take on your burdens today, but I cannot, right? That's a boundary. So people want to share and I can't do it. These are my limits. These are what I can and can't do. These are the problems I can and can't solve. So all of that plays a role in mental health.
So part of it then, and again, is there a difference between where my emotional state of mind might be and where my mental state, or are they one and the same, or are they interconnected?
I think they're interconnected. When you start looking at the way we process information. So I'll use an example. I walk into a room and no one speaks. If my emotional health is not well, why aren't they talking to me? Well, what did I do? Well, is it something about me? You start processing that. When you are emotionally well and mentally well, you like, oh, hey, y'all, no one's speaking. Let's go on over and do X, Y, Z and not be concerned. So,
you know how I handle that?
How you handle it?
I don't speak.
Uh-oh. You gonna get good
to me? I ain't speaking to you.
You getting good morning, good afternoon, and good
morning. Hey, you get. It's like, what I and I don't know. I think there was a term that I used to hear. People get morose, right?
Ooh. Google. Okay, Google.
Which is kind of a down feeling, but it's not exactly depression.
Yeah.
And even when we talk about, let's say, manic depression, a lot of people always think that manic depression is low. What manic depression is these incredible swings.
That swing. Yeah.
You're doing all these swings where, you just moving. I'm just getting everything done, and then you crash. And now you in a dark room for a month, right? So it's that, and so you try to stabilize that, right?
You do, and I think with checking in on people, pay attention to those kinds of things. So I have watched that people who are pretty steady throughout the way they react to things, but being very tuned in to people who have that manic, right? They do workaholics and go, and then they just disappear. That's important to pay attention to. And sometimes it's medication, sometimes it's therapy. That's where you get those professionals.
I was talking to someone, we were talking about someone I knew in the past, and I was just saying, we're mutual friends, and he was saying, oh man, back in the day they used to do da 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 da. I said, well, what I discovered, and here's my failure as a manager, what I should have done was directed that person to go to our employee assistance program, so then they could say you need to go, because what it was undiagnosed manic depression. And so you have a person come to work, the best, and then we don't see them for a month. And
where are they?
Right.
What are
and
they?
She would come back and say, I just sat in my room, turned all the lights off, and I just couldn't function.
We need to check in on each other. The community has a responsibility as well.
We'll come back and talk a little bit about that. Listen to Community Voice. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee. Community Voice on WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM.
Welcome back. And again, we have Miss Ebony Solly.
Hey,
From Community Health Outreach.
Outreach
Community.
Health Center. Yes.
Do it again for me.
Outreach Community Health Center.
And, you know, as we were going, you were saying, as we were going into break, you were saying how important the community is.
Yes. We have our educators that are being asked to step up in ways that they just haven't. Or maybe I was too young to realize these educators were stepping up the way they were. Our faith leaders, our community leaders, all of us. I was having a conversation the other day on the amount of overdoses that are happening in public. And so what one of the mental health professionals said is that people who are using opioids and all of these heroin and all that are actually going out into the public to use these drugs because they know if they overdose, somebody will help them.
The Narcan.
Man. So these are real things. So as a community, we are now training people to say, what happens if you're just sitting there and somebody falls over? We didn't have to, you might have a stumbling person who was abusing alcohol back in the day, but not just fall out, and we have to know how to administer Narcan. That's real.
And I was because I'm reacting to the response that we had for when we dealt with the crack epidemic and how we didn't see that as a real mental health issue. We saw it as criminal behavior. But now when we look at fentanyl and other opioids and overdoses, it was kind of like these people need help.
They need help. I mean, they needed help back then.
Yeah.
But we won't even get into
we criminalized it. But I bet you know why.
We know why. But now we have the opportunity. And I think it's around the stigma. If someone passes out in public because of drug use, we treat them differently than somebody says, I'm having a hard time dealing with life right now. So just think about that, right? We'll rush to the physical aid, but not necessarily the mental aid. And we got to change that.
How do we get to, when you make that and then someone is saying, just be strong? Listen,
I mean, all of those platitudes have a place. If you're getting ramped up before a basketball game, you got to do some positive self-talk. If you're head out for a presentation, you got to do some positive self-talk. If you're experiencing life trauma, or you have some chemistry gone wrong, it's time for professional help.
Do you think that, you talked about the term stigma and a lot of the stigma, and look, I just wish, I don't wish, I'm only saying this, that this is not just an issue that plagues descendants of enslaved Africans when it comes to the stigma around mental health and mental illness, right? And then what happens is we either ignore it, we're indifferent to it, then it begins to manifest itself into a certain type of negative behavior now that's impacting us, the community.
Yeah.
So how do we remove the stigma?
So I think number one, we have to give people the resources to seek help, right? So outreach. I pulled some numbers just because, again, I'm interested in the data that comes behind it. In 2023, we treated 394 patients for substance and alcohol abuse. We treated 1,300 people for mental health disorders, 1,300 for depression and mood disorders, and 1,400 for anxiety disorders like PTSD. So people are struggling. They have to know where to go get help. So part of my job is outreach, is saying, hey, we have resources here to help. Sometimes you just need that. Where do I go? I'm struggling. Life is kicking my behind. Who can I call? Outreach. The other part is self-care and coping techniques. And so I joked about I'm going to get my sleep and I'm going to let things that I cannot control go. For me, that's self-care. Anybody that needs me more than I need my sleep, you probably need a professional then, right? That's how I restore and take care of myself. That's how I create a boundary for myself. Right? No, you laugh, but try to call my phone after 9:30. Try to call me before 8 a.m. And for a while, as a professional, that's how I got to be, I would say, successful. I would rush to everybody's aid. I got you. I got backup copies of the backup copies. Type A. I wanted to make sure I was at the beck and call for everybody else. And had I not understood what was happening, I would have run myself into the ground. And one thing I decided to do was I said, now, if I am hospitalized because of stress, who's coming to the hospital? And if they're coming, are they bringing their computer to say, can I just get this file off before you go ahead?
Don't die yet. Can you, right before you die, can you
just forward that email? And
I'm dying here. I know.
But before you go, you could just So that self-care is strong with me. I will sleep, I will rest, I will back up when it's too much. And that's the healthy way for me. Because in my industry, in the creative industry, you have folks that self-medicate. So alcohol, drug use, that's real. So just let me get my blankie and go to sleep.
Doesn't that contribute to genius?
That's what they say. But listen, I can't.
Well, somebody said Coltrane was better clean than he was high.
Hey.
So
Hey.
you know, I mean, but that idea and how we self. Okay, let's. I want
get on into
it. I won't do it. I'll say it so you don't have to say it. I think that self-medication also sometimes comes down to religion.
Ooh.
And how we're avoiding certain things, and we feel like if we can get to religion, and actually what I'm dealing with is not a soul issue. I'm dealing with a real mental disorder, and I really need the help. I mean, the medical help. That was one great thing people always talk about. Oh, we should get rid of Obamacare. One of the things Obamacare did was it put mental health on the same level as physical help.
As it should be.
Right, because it used to be you only had X number of psychiatric or counseling visits. Now, whatever it takes to get you healed, get you whole. And I think because it really is, I mean, we live in a country that's crazy. We act like people ain't crazy. It's like, that's what's so crazy.
1 in 5.
1 in 5.
1 in 5.
One,
and we
two,
got a
three,
whole
4,
lot
5.
of them. Google the population of the U.S. and then go 1 in 5.
It's like when you used to go into those huge, like, I never had this issue because I didn't go to a huge college university where you go and you had 150 kids in the class.
300 in one of my classes.
Right. And then the professor say count over 3 and that third person won't be here.
Yeah.
You know, but that number is pretty high. We're talking about 1/5 of the American population.
The American population is going through it at any given time. So it's the resources, putting those in place. It's understanding what those telltale signs are, learning and sharing the facts. So just like we make everything else cool because we bring the culture, we bring the swag. Let's make taking care of yourself physically and mentally. Let's make that cool too.
So and so we have a place where folks can get help. So what are some of the things? Well, first of all, you talked about what type of patients that you work with. You gave the stats on that. And do you see an upward trending?
It is definitely trending up. So at Outreach, we have psychiatry, which is the medication piece. We have the psychology, which is the talking through the group therapies. And these are like nurse practitioners. So they have dedicated their schooling to these issues. We have the clinical social workers, and all of them are seeing trends up. Now, for me, that's a good thing. That means people are coming into a professional establishment and they're being marked as this person is in treatment. So I look at the uptick in maybe we are realizing what's happening and we're taking that into our own hands. The other thing is the numbers are ticking up. So what do we need to do as a collective community to bring those numbers down?
You know, and when you look at it, we've had COVID. We've also had X number of men and women who are dealing with PTSD.
Yep.
And so they're here. And I think a lot of, and this was kind of the focus of your organization, a lot of people who are, we can't say homeless anymore. They are
unhoused
or
transient
population.
Or experiencing homelessness.
Are people who are dealing with some level of mental disorders.
So think about, and there are some high profile cases that have happened here in Milwaukee. When you look at some of the high profile public deaths that have happened, some of those individuals have been unhoused. They just didn't have a place to go. So they're sleeping out in the public. They have an episode. They have an interaction with the police. And then. So we're in it together is the message I would leave.
When I think about people, and we talk about this, we're going to talk about it now. Winona Judd.
Yeah.
He was a woman who was dealing with depression, but she's a performer.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times people, like I thought the way to overcome my extreme shyness was to be a public speaker.
Ooh. Okay, just exposure therapy.
Right.
Just jump into
it didn't and so I don't know the psychology that's happening there, but what it was, I'm the same person, but I can be more open, more expressive. And then in a private conversation, you can't get 8 words out of me. It's so sometimes we go into things, and that's funny when you're talking about in the creatives that a lot of time, Donny Hathaway.
Anthony Bourdain is probably the one that sticks in my mind.
Yeah.
He has a documentary on Netflix, but I remember going to see that in the movie theater. So he's similar. So he got into the restaurant industry because he liked the back of the house. He didn't really want to be out on stage, but dealt with a ton of issues, self-medicated, and then met a woman, put all of his kind of energy into that, which is that manic piece. And ultimately took his life. So
when the relationship failed,
because he had put everything into that.
Well, Karen Carpenter.
I mean, the list is
the anorexia.
long.
When we began to talk about her eating disorder, she was cool when she was on the drums. When people got out, and how she views herself and her image, and that's something that women are dealing with. I think you heard what happened with Representative Crockett, and then she used a body reference.
Yes.
Alliterative. Right, a body. But there are a lot of people who are, when they look at themselves,
body dysmorphia is what the technical term is. So you could be one way, but you view yourself in a different way. And you react in that different way. So, I mean, it's all of that, which is why I think even as young people, we have to take ourselves and teach our young folks. I'll say myself, I remember I used to suck my thumb, right? So my teeth were jacked, and I can admit that. My teeth were jacked. So this was around the time when We Are the World came out. My peers came out with We Are the Teeth. And I mean, they wrote verse after verse after verse. But right, I mean, then folks would join in, right? So now when I flash a smile, it's kind of like a throwback to them, like, haha. But I grew up in a very supportive home. So my parents were like, hey, they hate you because they ain't you, right? So those things didn't affect me. It was a different kind.
I always love.
I hope they listening too. I hope some of those.
Yeah, payback. Yeah, look at me now.
Ooh, that's that good dentistry.
Oh
okay?
Man, look at me. There's a couple people in my life. Yeah, look at me now. But that was thumb suckers were really interesting because I had some people. I'm talking about they were adults.
Listen.
They get in a stressful situation. You start like right here. They woke up, and then all of a sudden
I had a teddy bear. I mean, and now I was in my early teens because I was a tomboy. I used to play basketball. Okay. When I tell you I had to put that bear in a bag to go with me so I could suck my thumb before the game, calm myself down, that was real. Okay. So now you all know. I hope my family's listening. Boom. But that was so soothing.
Some people throw up before the game.
Right,
gotta
get my little bear, and I mean, I carried that thing.
What did you like, Gretchen? And
it rubbed the little bear on my nose. Yeah, it was a time.
Like Linus and his blanket.
And his blanket. That was me, and that too is a coping technique,
right?
Right, because I was the only child, right? I know he's like, you had a bear, disgusted.
No, I'm actually back in the office listening. I heard you talking about they had a song by We Are the Teeth.
We Are the Teeth, because my teeth were jacked. They were.
Well, how did can we get a? No, never mind.
I know that's it.
I
mean, they would rock with it. It was
back
like,
to the truck.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But again, I didn't absorb that, but we have to be conscious of not everybody is like us. So to some, that teasing turns into bullying, turns into how they view themselves throughout life. So. That's why
I'm gonna have to disagree with you a little bit, Ebony. You did kind of take it a little bit,
but it didn't. I always, even to this day, I shrug things off because people's opinion will never trump my own opinion of myself. Right, people get me, and I'm working on, and I'm gonna take a long way to say this. I'm working on a film now, and it's being shot in the beginning from behind. My philosophy is you always come into somebody's life when it's already in progress. You don't know what that person has been through up until that point. So you can only judge moving forward. So I look at it like I had a strong upbringing. My parents were extremely positive. You can do it. You can. So a third grader's opinion of me, meh, he ain't gonna take me out on a basketball court.
But a
Get
third
crossed.
grader to another third grader,
Yeah.
it can really, it has impact because all of a sudden we do become more conscious of our appearance.
Those were my teeth. That's how they looked.
Yeah.
They were jacked. Let's not sugarcoat it.
That's-
They were jacked.
Yeah, and you know, no sympathy,
None.
none at all. But kids can
None.
be cruel, man.
And I ain't gonna tell them I suck my
no
thumb.
bridle.
That's why my teeth.
Have no bridle. It just
Yeah,
It's just like,
Yeah.
dude, you hope you develop filters
no,
as you
no
get
filters.
older, but there's some people out there no
Some people
filters.
don't.
They don't
Some
care,
people
and then don't
don't.
let them get
Amazing.
old.
Kids are that
Oh,
way.
Lord.
Oh, you just.
Listen.
I'm about to say something. And old people, they have
Oh,
no
don't let
filter.
them, right? Because now you feel like I lived all these years. I got the right to say what I want to say. You don't have the right to hurt people's feelings.
Wait
They don't
till
care
I'm
nothing
80.
about your
No.
Wait till I'm 80.
Just wait.
Somebody gonna pay her when you get 80. Somebody gonna pay for all the wrong been done
It's all
to me.
right, but no, you got to pass the positive.
How many movies though? How many horror movies have done where this person, the Blackney, was just based on this? Have you seen the Blackney? Based on the fact that you abused this guy because he didn't know how to play spades. Because they don't play spades in Vermont. That's my favorite part. And so he gets drunk, goes out, have a car accident, kill a white girl, do time, and then he gonna kill these black people on Juneteenth Day.
So you better teach your folks how to play
because you don't know when they're coming back.
And dominoes. Listen.
Well, wasn't that the whole purpose behind the beautiful ugly duckling?
Yeah.
That turned out to be a swan that, you know, you might look a certain way because if people don't think how we look and how we appear has any impact on our mental health, wrong.
Listen.
Get a couple of pounds over where you want to be and see how you feel about yourself.
Can one of you guys turn the air on?
I know, because it's getting hot in here. It's getting hot in here.
She's having a personal moment over there.
But here's the other part of that. How we view others is important too. So I was probably, it had to be high school. It was high school, and I live in stories. So I'm gonna tell you a little story. When I was in high school, I had a coach who did not see the value of African American folks, and I'll just leave it at that. So we had a group of young white girls who came in and kind of took our spots, if you will. And so people were, oh my God, I dislike them greatly. I hate them, blah, 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 blah. We should be jealous of them. And I said, listen, the thing about jealousy is you have to actually want what someone else wants. And I've come to the understanding that nobody's highlight reel, you don't get to see the behind the scenes. So I roll that into Cassie, right? We all saw this new video that came out of the domestic violence. People probably looked at her and said, she's got the best life. Oh, I wish I had that life. Never wish you had somebody else's life because you have no idea the burden.
Halle Berry. We go like, you know, like you be with Halle Berry, she's fine. It's like, dude, she had like 14 boyfriends in 12 years.
J-Lo.
You know, I mean, so after a while, it ain't them.
Yeah.
It could be you.
Yeah. But that's the coping. So people have figured out, you know what? I may not be as great as the people say they are. Let me see if I get with this other person. If they say I'm great.
Well, if you're a public person, though, you never. Well, I should say never because there's some who do. I'm never confident enough to even believe a compliment that you give me. Right.
Ooh. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
They're in the back of my mind. I'm still working through.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
Because it was something you said, and I use this in church sometimes. I said, when I get up and do my testimony, it's been edited. You need to see the raw footage, right? You really
actually going through
you
it.
really going through. Look at that raw footage, and you going like, because by the time you get up, you got it all, and you looking like, that private turmoil. I think what was it? Was it Daryl Coley had the song Silent Scream? You know, that people we're screaming.
Yeah.
And then sometimes culture says, don't get help. Ain't nothing wrong with you.
Wrong, just shake it off.
How many people have said, ain't nothing wrong with that boy?
Look, and that's where I go, did you know 1 in 5, right?
Right. Ain't nothing wrong with that boy. Well, this is the 4th house he done burned down. There might be something wrong with him.
He's just looking for attention.
Right. Or we'll whoop him.
Right.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Some of our cures.
Punishment. Yeah.
Punishment.
Yeah.
There's a young man who was dealing with serious mental disabilities. He's at a church. They figure they're going to pray the devil out of him.
I remember that.
Remember that set on him and he suffocated?
Oh, my goodness.
You know, so don't love Jesus so much that you ignore the facts and you kill somebody.
Well, I came from the ministry that said God is touching the hands of the doctors. God is touching the minds of these professionals. So a lot of them.
I always tell people, look, if I go in and visit Dr. Ebony and the first book Dr. Ebony goes to is the Bible, I'm in trouble. I'm in real trouble.
But
none of these medical books can help me.
It's the physical and the mental. So you wouldn't say the same thing about somebody coming in with a gunshot wound. Why do we treat mental trauma any different? It's really an invisible gunshot wound to the mind.
I think it's also our fear.
Of what, though?
It could be me.
It probably, if you no, and when I say that, I mean over the course of your life, there are going to be some things that stress you to the brink, right? And we got to be real with that. When we look at new mothers in postpartum, you're changing you're bringing a new life into the world. You are, your body has just physically changed, and we're like, oh, it's just the baby blues. You'll be all right. They handed me my baby girl and were like, be blessed. Where is the instruction manual? Where are the documents? Y'all just gonna leave me with the person? How much should she sleep?
And that postpartum piece of the mental health thing is huge. And we sit up and somebody go, here's another myth. You're not born a parent.
Hello.
Parenting and loving, that love piece is learned. So we go like, I can't believe that there are mothers out there that don't like their children. Oh yeah, there's a whole lot of them out there. Now, thank God I had one. In fact, that she didn't like me. She kept me, and she stepped up.
She cut it out.
Played a good role.
And when they say sincerity is not required,
right.
As long as the food was on the table. But I mean, because we have
that's
these
love too.
It is, but we have this societal these myths and these roles. And then sometimes we don't live up to it, then we feel like we've been a failure, and that can send you into a deep spiral.
Or you suffer a loss, or you go through a divorce. Those top 5 things: you get a new job, lose a job, and these things are happening over and over and over. And then COVID.
If you ever been fired,
listen.
If you ever been fired, I don't care, and maybe you probably shouldn't have been fired. It still feels the same way. And a job you hated.
Yeah.
You didn't like the job in the first place.
They fired me.
It's just like when you have a relationship with someone and then they reject you.
Like,
you've been dissing them all this year, right? They all of a sudden now I love her. Well,
but seriously, if you look at the age groups that are experiencing trauma, there is a group of individuals that live through, well, we all live through it, but experienced firsthand 9/11, the Great Recession, the racism, the elevated racism, COVID, and it just keeps piling on. Right? Imagine
I think Kevin, COVID would certainly have been the one for me.
Yeah.
Because there was I don't think I've ever saw the world so fearful.
Yeah.
Something that you couldn't see.
I was pumping gas with gloves on.
Even as you said, of each other. Just I remember being at Walmart down here and some old dude was coughing and hacking. I'm just looking at him. I was like, man, you need to be at home. I gave him the business.
Any cough.
Yeah.
Any cough.
Yeah.
Like,
even now you get 3. Hachoo.
But 9/11 was very traumatic.
Absolutely.
I recall 9/11.
That was
not
a psychic,
to the extent that this was, because people just you see them today and they died of COVID. 3-4 days, and some of them was out of here.
But my grandmother was a little girl during the influenza outbreak in 1918.
Mhm.
She was a little girl. She must have been about 5, 6 years old. And she talked about what she saw in terms of people dying from the flu. You know, I mean, you have those periods, and then you talk about how the trauma that we've lived through, especially descendants of enslaved African people. I thought about my grandmother lived through the influenza outbreak. She lived through the Great Depression. Jim Crow's going on all the time, but she lived through the war. You know, she lived through the Kennedy assassination. And she just
King so now they're seeing that in school shootings, and this is broadcasting live. I think that's the other part. You used to have someone editing, like maybe this is too much violence for one day. Maybe we put now you get to stream
George
that
Floyd.
live. George Floyd.
We had to watch all 9 minutes. We watch all 9
Freddie Gray.
Freddie Gray.
All these are back to back. School shooting. It's too much. It's too much. Like, so during COVID, I turned everything off. I'm like, I cannot feed this into my brain.
Yeah,
remember we were here, but you were here.
Just like I was tired.
I was here.
We did have Donald Trump.
Hey, I was gonna stay away from it. I was gonna stay away.
We did. I mean, when we came in, talk about real quickly. So, if people want to take advantage of the services that you all have there, outreach.
Yeah, they can call 414-727-6320. They can visit the website. And we actually have a community health and resource fair, which I keep sharing, because sometimes there's a stigma even for us that are going to seek help. Come and meet the professionals, the practitioners. Absolutely. That's 414-727-6320.
All right. And do it one more time in her radio voice. Do it one more time.
That is 414-727-6320. That's Outreach Community Health Center.
I know what neither of you have brought up, and you know, because I listen very attentively. Speak about that new facility you guys just put up down there.
It is giving 58,000 square feet.
Yeah, it is.
The sunlight comes through. It's being well certified, which means it's got all those sound reduction, beautiful lighting, plants, greenery. It feels healthy. It feels well.
Yeah, it's certainly appreciated, as I used to venture to work that way every day, and I kind of watched the progression. My wife is actually a patient there. Beautiful facility. I'm very proud of what you guys were able to do there.
Yeah,
you know, we're talking about your voice, and there's a young lady I work with, and so one day I called her number. Right, I got a voicemail.
Was it great?
I said, by the time you got through that voicemail, I'm going to make it rain.
Did it have background music?
No, she didn't need it. Okay. It was just like
that, or either you forgot what the hell you played.
right. So we started calling her 1-900. But we used to call those numbers.
Tell us more. What did you use to connect?
But no, I appreciate, but being able to have this conversation. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. Let's talk about it every day. Talk about our health. You know, just sunshine.
Being well. We need to focus on being well physically and mentally.
Yeah.
We got you at Outreach.
Yeah. We're gonna take a break.
Get out of here.
We gotta go.
We done talked to people. Hopefully we provided some great resources.
Oh, as always, let me thank Miss Ebony Solid.
Thank you.
Always do it.
Outreach Community Health
Centers. Here, right up the street from us. Give me the address.
Capitol. We are at 220 West Capitol.
Second and Capitol. I said, look, we're the only city where when you talk about the public aid office, they go 12th and Valete, which is changing now. But remember back in the day, hey, I need public assistance. Oh, you go 12th and Valete. Yeah, that's the state. Yeah, but they're building a new county building right across the street on Cherry Street.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what's going on 27th in Wisconsin? Isn't that supposed to be a new state building going there?
It's a good question.
It could be a good question because, you know, they did have the building on 26th in Wisconsin. They built one there, DWD.
Yeah, but they're supposed to all that old row mines and all of that.
Oh, that side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stay tuned, I guess.
Ebony, always good seeing you.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
Let me thank Miss Michelle Bryant. Debo, thank you. Harvey, thank you. Nate, thank you. 1 and 5.
1 and 5.
Which one is the one? Good Lord, Willow Creek don't rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go from this place in peace.